Mini Jake, the tribe has spoken.
Fuck you, Kevin.
Aw, fuck you too, sweetie.
I'm JJ, one of the original Tribe of Nerds members. You can catch me on Marvel, Pokemon, and other gaming podcasts.
What up? It's Josh, resident superhero nerd, but I also dabble in the occasional super villain as well.
Some may know me as the Chaos Gremlin, but really I'm just Joe King.
Pikachu, use Volt Tackle! Good job, Pikachu!
On the Tribe of Nerds. Hey everybody, JJ and I are here for the Tribe of Nerds Daredevil rewatch before Daredevil Born Again. Super excited for this. So we're rewatching all of Netflix Daredevil to prepare for that. So JJ, how do you feel about Daredevil? Because I know this is one of your favorite characters, or your favorite character in Marvel. So
Yeah, and this show is the reason for that. This show strikes like it's so much darker than most of what the MCU is, and not in a like I don't know, in kind of like a Batman and like a Dark Knight trilogy Batman sort of way. I think is the best way to phrase it. Like it's refreshing to see it from that point of view, and also it's like street level crime, so Matt is more relatable in some ways. I mean, at the very least, like how he and Foggy are struggling to make ends meet and everything like that. We're not following some tech billionaire who, you know, is nothing like us.
right, exactly. Like, I mean, you get so much like relatable stuff of like, you know, Matt and Foggy, they show them meeting in college and all that stuff, even like in the middle of the show. And like to give us like more relatability, give us like more into their relationship. So it's really nice to see.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
I also really love the overarching plot point of we have a Catholic lawyer who is going to be a vigilante and have to contemplate killing all the time. Like, it makes for a really morally complex character with a lot to explore, and he's really interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, like, they do a good job. Like, the premiere of the show is literally, you know, aside from like what happens to him as a kid, how he gets the powers or the heightened senses from the toxic waste, is he's in confession. So that's just a really cool thing to like open up on with him as an adult. So
yeah, I appreciate that note was taken from the very beginning, and I love the priest as a outlet for Matt to talk to someone.
right.
He's a really good story tool for us to get to explore Matt's psyche.
Yeah, like I love that that's like kind of our character development and for him a little bit when he's not with like Foggy and Karen and and Kingpin. So like yeah, it's really interesting. Well, so yeah, we do have like the origin of Daredevil I mean, this is pretty much like this whole season is like building up this origin story for Matt as Daredevil, because he starts off in the black suit because he doesn't get his regular suit until the end of the show or the end of the season from Melvin Potter. But we obviously open up with him as a boy pushing someone out of the way and getting the toxic waste in his eyes. So, I mean, like, open up right away that, you know, this kid's going to grow up to be at least sort of a hero, maybe a hero who is, you know, if he needs to kill someone to like save someone, then he's going to do that. But he's still, it opens up with him being a hero. So
Yeah, I appreciate that we both get the like actual origin of this, but also we're dropped right into the action. He is already doing these things. He's not discovering his powers. He's not figuring out how to start being a superhero, a vigilante, whatever. He's already doing this. So, and like, it's not just another origin story.
right. It's very different. Something I also really appreciate as well in the first few episodes is really also building up like his relationship with his dad. And like in a couple episodes, we go back and forth between like how his dad was a really good role model for him and like, the tragedy of his dad getting shot by the mafia for that bad deal. And then obviously Matt's gonna get picked up by Stick and all this other stuff. So I mean, uh, what do you think of like everything with like Matt's origin, like with his father and everything and Stick?
I Matt is very believable to have come from his father.
Yeah.
The traits that they bring into his character that they portrayed and his dad seems like a natural progression. And also his dad's he's a likable character. I like that dynamic. It's fun to watch him with young Matt, like patching him up after fights and stuff.
Yeah.
Stick, of course, is just a complete asshole.
Oh yeah.
I don't think there's anything I really like about Stick. I mean, he's necessary in so far as we need a way for Matt to like actually become who he is.
Right.
But God, like, does he have to be such a dick?
No, like he literally is, trying to make this kid into like a ruthless killing machine, basically. And then like because this kid is, he's been raised by his father for like decade of his life and he has morals and everything, and because he has morals, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna abandon you again after I picked you up out of the orphanage and yeah, I'll leave you to fend for yourself. So that it was extremely shitty. So
yeah, and it's the moment that like Matt starts feeling this parental bond or child parent bond with Stick that he's just like, no, I can't have that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I assume going into season 2 and 3, we're gonna get like the continuation of that because it's obviously it's building up that Stick is trying to train Matt for to take on the Hand. So um, I'm assuming we'll get that soon in the upcoming couple seasons. But
yeah, it does build up quite a bit in season 2 for
okay.
sure. It seems that like while season 1 was really the story arc about Kingpin, they had a clear idea of where they were going to be going with the Hand and Stick from the beginning, and they were really just kind of planting the roots but not digging too far into it yet.
Right, and I'm glad that they didn't go and take the rest of the season to like they didn't take another episode to go down the Stick storyline. They just put him in like the first season to do what was necessary for Matt's storyline, and then he can leave and we can focus on everything else that's going on that is relevant to the plot of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes season 1 function pretty well as a standalone.
Right. Yeah, I really enjoyed this a lot. Like I mean, we'll get to it at the end of it. Like I honestly would say season 1 might be one of my favorite Marvel things, especially in light of how Marvel has been recently. So
oh yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Kingpin because like this season, as you said, focuses a lot on Wilson Fisk and like immediately in the first few episodes, I mean, we hear his voice in the first couple, but really we don't get to see him until episode 3 when we get to see this relationship he starts with Vanessa in the art museum. So what are your thoughts on Fisk? I mean, we'll talk about all the brutality in this show that comes from him soon too, but
okay, first of all, Vincent D'Onofrio plays him so well. Like Charlie Cox is amazing as Matt Murdock, but
Yeah.
Vincent D'Onofrio is probably the star
Yes.
of this season.
Mhm.
I do get a little bit of Kingpin fatigue as we get into season 3, and then we see things like Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Like, I know he's an important villain, but they could do more without relying on him so much later on. But that's not part of what we're getting into today, really.
Yeah.
I love that we get to see his descent into evil, and like he is evil from the beginning, but he doesn't know it yet.
Yeah.
And he's looking through this lens of, really, I'm just trying to do good. And then he makes this switch at the end where he's like, fine, well, I'm going to be the bad guy then.
Right.
When he's already doing it, but it's like him accepting his role is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I love that. And like we're gonna get like why he is this way in the middle of the season when we see his origin story of like he had an abusive father that abused him and his mom, and like especially his mom, like obviously he would beat her and then leave Wilson to look at the wall for while that was happening, and and then he would teach Wilson to beat up people. So this is where he gets that from.
Yeah. And he's just a beast of a man.
Yes.
Just absolutely insanely strong, and just I could not imagine fighting him.
I know. Well, he literally just, I mean, when he shows up and he's like, he's about to get angry and murder someone. Like, I mean, they set that up by episode 4 when he murders one of the Russian brothers. Like,
yes,
slams his head in the car door and decapitates him. Like, geez, this is brutal.
and I really appreciate that about him. Like, I mean, if you look at something like Into the Spider-Verse, we get this like caricaturistic portrayal of him.
Mm-hmm.
But like here, yes, he is a mob boss, but he also he's just straight up able to handle himself without superpowers or anything. He's just a really big, strong dude who is capable of immense brutality.
Yeah. Definitely don't want to embarrass him in front of Vanessa. Like,
oh yeah.
Like, unfortunately, that mistake was made by Anatoly or
Anatoly.
Anatoly, yeah. Something that I really like as well about this season is with Kingpin and everything, and Matt has to go, take care of everything that's happening in Hell's Kitchen. Like, kind of the buildup of like how much like Matt has to go through, and obviously Kingpin is going to take care of some of his own forces himself, obviously throughout the season, but just like how many people Matt has to like go through to even get to Kingpin. Like it kind of has like, okay, how do we get this one character out of the way to get to him going up against Kingpin? Like, I think it's really, really fun to kind of see that throughout the season.
Yeah, and it like almost sets up a video game type fashion where it's a series of boss fights.
Mm-hmm.
First it's Vladimir, then it's Nobu, and like finally he's able to fight the Kingpin.
Yeah. It's really fun to watch. I think that just has to do with like how well they set this structure up this season.
Yeah, and I also it like seeing the dynamic of the different criminal bosses interact with one another, and the different personalities that they have really adds a lot to the ability to develop that side of the storyline, and makes it a lot more interesting to watch than just not Vincent, but Wilson running his organization. It's like, okay, he's running his organization, but he's got these external pressures and problems.
Yeah. And like, I mean, like you said, so many different personalities. Like Gao is pretending that she does not speak English and like just using the Kingpin for her own needs, for her own business. And then you have Leland, who's also doing it and also very dramatic.
Yes. Very dramatic.
Like, dude is just making really like dry, dramatic, sarcastic comments every single time.
Gao is probably the most interesting of the bunch. I mean, because of her story, but also this game of cat and mouse that her and Fisk play with one another. Is it's really clever. And they both have a little bit of leverage. Gal has a lot more than he does, but he definitely has some leverage that he's able to work with.
Right, for sure. And then obviously her and Leland, try to use that leverage, and they try to kill Vanessa so that they can stop Fisk from being distracted and, take his money and everything. So, all right. So now we got to talk about Karen and Foggy, like the relationship with them and Matt. I mean, it's so good. I'm also glad that, like, they are bringing Eldon Henson and Debrianne Wool back for Daredevil Born Again. I think at one point they weren't even going to be in it, and then fans like obviously demanded that these two get brought back in because they're such a huge part of who Matt is. Like these relationships. I mean, you can't really have, the show without these three interacting together.
Oh yeah, and I mean, Foggy and Matt in particular, like the chemistry that the actors bring to those characters on the screen is so it's so tangible. Like it really feels like they've been lifelong friends. And Foggy is such a breath of levity in this show. I love his character so much.
Yeah. I think Foggy is one of my favorite of like the comedic characters like that we've gotten in Marvel. Like, and he even has like that kind of depth and like emotion to him because we see like for like an entire episode or two where like he finds out Matt is Daredevil and like he spends, he's depressed, he's rightfully angry because his friend has lied to him for all this time, and then he goes to the bar and like, drinks through his misery. So like
yeah, he's comedic relief without being just flat one-liners all the time.
Right.
He's very much an important part of this story. And like is so important to Matt's development.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And then, Karen is also not one note. I mean, we see her, immediately she's getting framed for murdering her coworker because of the, was it United Allied incident?
Yeah.
So, everything that happens there, and then Fisk is already trying to send guys to murder her and to stop the information, and how her growth comes throughout the entire season, leading to her being able to stand up for herself, and she kills Wesley. So like I really enjoyed her character throughout this. So
yeah, the face off with Wesley is one of my favorite scenes in this first season. And Karen's consistent drive to discover the truth, like the way that they set her up with the Daily Bulletin, I think
Ben Urich.
Well, I mean, even further than that, like after this arc with Ben Urich, but the way they're setting her up for the future and what she does as a journalist later, it's really a good storyline with her, and with Ellison also, who we don't get a lot from this season, but we'll get more from him next season. He's the head of the newspaper.
Oh yeah, that guy was he's a kind of a piece of work as well, because like how he interacts with Ben, and like I at one point, because I almost thought that he was like behind reporting to Fisk, and that's why Ben gets killed, but it was one of the other coworkers.
Yeah.
So
and, I mean, they paint it that way, and they let Ellison be this sort of be this kind of character this season, but he really softens up some during second season. He and Ben, I don't know, it's just like they're old timers that have been working together forever,
right?
And I do kind of like their relationship that they have with one another. Ben is a great character too.
Yeah, I was even watching it the second time here, like his death in the second to last episode is so devastating. Like you feel like you wanted more of him, and then but as soon as you see that Fisk is in his apartment in the background, then you're like, it's not gonna end well.
Yeah, and that's one in particular, like the relationship that he has had with Fisk and with this whole situation this season this far, even up until the moment that Fisk starts strangling him, like it's still this, is he going to die here?
Yeah.
Like, I don't actually know what's going to happen here.
Right.
It could go either way.
Right.
The show does such a good job of building up that tension.
Right. Because, like, at one point, like, maybe it's sort of simmering down, like, Ben's able to talk his way out of it to get Fisk to leave. And then it goes into, obviously, well, you talked to my mother and you did this. And then Fisk is like, yeah, I'm not here to talk to you. I'm here to kill you. And then just, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's devastating, especially also we get like Ben's moments with his wife and taking care of his wife, and everything. And like even when we get to the funeral in the finale of season 1 here, and like you in the beginning, and you have Karen getting kind of the closure from his wife of being like, I caused Ben to die, and his wife's like, no, he died doing what he loved. Like you are absolved of, what you think you did, because that's you weren't responsible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean this is this is really good stuff. So anything else in particular you think you want to touch on with some of these characters or plot lines?
Just I did want to bring up Claire.
Yes, yep.
Rosario Dawson.
Yes.
She is, I think she's the only character that's in all 4 of the Defenders series.
Oh wow.
Which is kind of weird. She has a pretty big role in Luke Cage.
Okay.
But it is it's interesting, like her and Melvin both, like we get these like ancillary characters that are necessary to lead the life of Daredevil, that he just kind of happens into, and that's the origin story part of this building up as we go. But she's such a good character too, the whole rooftop scene to build on Matt's complex morality.
Yeah. Yeah, Claire is really, really good for the few episodes she shows up, and it's awesome to get Rosario Dawson in here as like a major, what feels like a major role, but for like a few episodes. But she is just this, I guess, minor character, but she does so much in that time. So that is important. So I really enjoyed her in this show as well. And like even the episode where she gets captured and Matt goes to save her, and you get like such an awesome like fight of like turning off all the lights and just beating up all of Vladimir's men. Like that was really
yeah, that was a really good scene. Oh, I did just look it up. She is in all 4 of the main series Defenders shows, and then the Defenders itself. She's just not in the Punisher.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wonder if Rosario Dawson is coming back. I mean, she is, she is doing like Ahsoka, so I think it's entirely possible that she goes from that Disney Plus show to this Disney Plus show coming up.
Yeah, that wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I'll say with Daredevil Born Again too that like I'm so happy for is like they did actually listen to fans, and they are actually like trying to make it like a formal continuation to the actual show and not just trying to soft reboot it, because I think like if they had stuck with that, it would not have landed.
Yeah. No, a reboot wouldn't have worked, especially if they were going to reboot and then redo the Kingpin storyline. Although it does seem that they're setting themselves up to do a lot with Kingpin, which is not my personal preference, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I'm interested to see how season 2 and season 3 fit in as well. And because like I've seen the other stuff he's been in now coming back, Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, and Hawkeye. I watched Echo. He was actually pretty good in Echo. It's just that project was kind of average. So
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I mean, that did set up that in Born Again, he is going to be running as, for mayor of New York. So, um, although I feel like I feel like that's going to be built up even in the original show here. That because I almost feel like that's something Fisk would have done much earlier.
It would be pretty cool. I'm doubtful that this will happen, but it would be pretty cool to see Spider-Man make an appearance.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, we did already get Charlie Cox's cameo in No Way Home,
yeah.
but also, I mean, Kingpin is a pretty major Spider-Man villain too, so it wouldn't be an unreasonable crossover.
I did see something actually earlier today. I think they in one of the trailers I saw. I didn't watch all the trailers yet, but because I wanted to watch the rest of the original show too. But I noticed something saying that Spider-Man was set in the show by Kingpin. So
Okay.
you at least mention while also being like obviously nobody is going to know who Spider-Man is. I mean I don't know why Kingpin would know his identity anyway because that, but they haven't ever interacted. But it's still keeping with it that oh well, sorry. I'm thinking Spider-Man obviously had his identity revealed. Never mind. I'm
But then it was a race.
right, erased.
So
Yeah. That's why I was like forgetting. Yeah, so it was erased, so yeah, nobody would know. Yeah. But yeah,
speaking of the MCU tie-ins, I know this is now officially MCU, but before they knew that it was going to be, and when it was its own separate like entity, they still did a really good job of connecting the dots without oversaturating it, which especially post Infinity War. Oh
yeah,
my God, so many shows were all about the snap, which that was a really important plot point, and I
yes.
don't want to downplay the necessity of bringing that into how it affects everything.
Right,
But
right.
like these subtle references to the event being the event of Avengers,
Yes.
like property prices and stuff like that. It's really good world building
Yeah.
without being in your face about it.
Yeah, and then Ben Urich, before he gets killed, pulls out like one of his news stories that has the Battle of New York on it as well.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that was really cool to see. Um, all right. We do want to mention also the hallway fight scene in episode 2 because that's one of the most iconic fight scenes I think in Marvel history in the MCU. So I did want to mention that.
Marvel is so bad at good fight scenes.
Yeah.
There, so many of their fight scenes are just a mess of cuts. It's really hard to follow what's going on. But this scene in particular, like it's this one long take, and they do like change the camera angle so that we're following Daredevil as he moves back and forth through the hallway. But like also him shooting off into rooms, and then just the sound
Yes.
of what's still going on. It's such a like it's artistic, but also like very clear what's going on. It's a really well done fight scene, and throughout the show, like that is one of this show's like biggest strengths is the fight choreography.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so well done, and it continues to be good and even get better later on.
Yeah, it's so believable. Like I felt like, all the fights, like you're feeling what these characters are feeling. And I don't know, it's so grounded. I really think this is the most grounded thing in the MCU. Like I would definitely argue that. So,
Yeah, and like it's it isn't necessarily relatable,
right.
but it feels real. It feels realistic in a way that an Avengers movie can't.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And even like having like how Kingpin is able to like pay off so many people to be on his side too. Like obviously that's how Kingpin is. Like he's able to pay off the police and SWAT officers, and it's just crazy like how much reach Kingpin has. So that
Yeah,
is really fun to watch too.
yeah. Kingpin is a pretty scary villain because he's realistic. I mean, that's how crime syndicates run in real life. Maybe not to the extent that he has it, but I mean, if we're talking back to like older mafia and mob times, or even today, things like the cartel.
Right, right, exactly. So it's nice to see that be used in the show. I actually like I feel like that's when like crime shows and stuff get really interesting when you involve like dirty cops and all that. Like it just makes it like the conspiracy stuff is really fun to watch, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is getting to a done to death sort of
Well, yeah.
point with the trope, but at least at this point, like it didn't feel too overly done yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like this came out 2015. So 10 years ago. Jeez.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah, not a great feeling.
And it is crazy 10 years later. I feel like this is still better. This is better than stuff that has come out since then for the MCU. So
And the limited, honestly, I don't know if there's any CGI. I'm sure there's probably some somewhere with um, like guns and explosions and stuff like that. But like the limited use of it really is going to let this hold up a lot longer too, because it's not going to get compared against special effects in like at least in terms of computer generated special effects.
Right, right, for sure. Anything else you want to discuss? Like, I mean, I'm sure there's more character deaths we can discuss that we haven't touched on or fight scenes. You have anything?
We didn't really talk about Wesley more than him dying, but
Wesley's fantastic.
Wesley is great.
Yeah.
He's so different from Fisk.
Yeah.
They balance each other out so well by being polar opposite type characters.
Yeah, and I actually love that like Fisk does actually care about Wesley so much. Like you see, you know, when they come and find his body and Fisk has this like reaction, like his friend and confidant that he's had for all these years is gone. Like it's so I found it really powerful actually, or unique. So
Yeah, I want to know like what Wesley's motivations were because it feels like a one-sided friendship.
that's very fair. I do wonder that as well. I don't know if he just like thought that he would be able to share in Fisk's wealth or like I think that might be it, but I'm not sure.
He did seem like a character pretty content to be number two.
Yeah.
Like I don't get the impression that Wesley was interested in leading.
Right.
At least not in the way that Fisk did.
Right, right. And he's still, and him being number two, I mean, he still had a lot of control, like over the, over Fisk's men and everything. Like he could give them orders and they'd listen as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I really enjoyed Wesley in this show. Like felt like sort of a mastermind, but someone who's like kind of just like a mouthpiece. Like that's his role, but he is still like a mastermind for things.
And he more so than others, but throughout the show, the writers do a really good job of creating these scenes where two characters will interact and there's so much bubbling beneath the surface and both characters know a lot about the other, but like it's just a lot being unspoken. Those tense sort of scenes that are just conversations are great.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. I think we've hit on most stuff, honestly. Most of like the important characters. You have anything else before we give grading for season one?
I don't think I can think of anything.
Okay. Yeah, let's give our letter grading. I mean, I'm gonna give it an A. I mean, at some point, maybe we can. I don't know. I think the MCU is way too large to even go back and do rankings again. So I don't even know that I want to attempt that at this point. But I will give it an A because it really is probably one of the I would say it's probably the best Marvel show that I've watched. So I'm excited to watch the other two seasons and get into Daredevil Born Again because I really enjoy these characters, both Kingpin and Daredevil, and just like this section of the universe, this section of the world because it felt really fleshed out to me, and so it was really fun to watch.
What is the scale that we're rating this on? Is this just like grading like A is the best, or is there an S above that?
I mean, we could do. I would say A is the best for this.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah, I would definitely also call this an A. This is like I know that I am not objective because of how much I like Daredevil.
yeah,
But this is very much one of Marvel's best done properties.
yeah.
One of the best stories that they've told in mainstream media.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really hope Born Again like keeps that going. But again, I'm excited to continue. We'll probably have our season two retrospective done. Uh, I'm trying to like think maybe in a week or something. Because we'll probably go bleed into when Daredevil Born Again has already started. So
Yeah, yeah, probably we're gonna do that, and that's okay.
yeah. So, yeah, I'm excited. This is great. So, glad we can talk about this. So yeah, with that, we will see you all next time on the Tribe of Nerds.